Hello, everyone. This is Holly. I'm going to share the link on our site so that we can have more folks joining us. Excuse me. I'm a couple of minutes, excuse me, late starting today, but had trouble clearing my throat. And it's hard to start a hangout when you don't have a clear voice. Excuse me. I'm going to close my door. I'll be right back. Hopefully others will join here momentarily. And it's been a crazy week here, and Vasant suggested we might try talking about crazy festivals or unique festivals around the world. And it seems like a good time for that. And here's Vasant.
Hello, Ali. Yeah.
Hello. Sorry about the late start. I had some trouble getting my voice to work here today. Feeling the cold coming on. Next week's challenge. So I like your suggestion of talking about unique festivals. And this week, I think, was the Holy Festival, yes? And do you participate?
No, it is what do you call it? It is famous in North India, but not in South India. We don't
Ah,
celebrate that much, but some of them celebrate it. Especially in metropolitan city, they have different kind of people working there, so uh, they celebrate. So we can only watch it. That's it.
okay, I didn't realize that it wasn't the full country, so it's more of a North India celebration. It's something that has, there's the expression, put put someone on the map, and the Holi festival has put India on the map. Many people associate the festival. So I didn't realize that it was only regional. So the ignorance of someone learning from abroad. I've always wondered if those colors and the chalk don't hurt people's eyes if there aren't a lot of people with eye trouble during this festival.
Yeah, some powders are chemically itchy, so sometimes it causes itches. So um, you have to be careful when you buy those powders and uh, liquids, etc. Yeah.
So some irritate more than others. Do people have little, I should go get my little eye cups that they use to rinse their eyes? Are those popular? Do you have special equipment to rinse your eyes out?
No, probably I'm not aware of it because I'm ignorant of that festival. But yeah, sometimes people use the warm water to rinse it out, and mostly people wear sunglasses, I think, to protect.
Oh, see, and in the photos, you don't see that so much. So I've often wondered, I just see the powder and the colors everywhere. And I'm like, oh, that has to be awful to wash, the poor women who stuck with the laundry and, and rinse the eyes. But here, when you buy, whenever you have an eye injury and need to rinse the eye, they have special little cups that are molded, shaped to fit your eye, um, and you can hold water in to rinse the eyes. Um, and I'm still having trouble with my voice. I couldn't get my voice to work enough to start the hangout for a while. But so we're talking at first about the Holi, the festival of colors, I guess, in India.
It's very popular in our place as well.
Really?
Last 3 years or 4 years, it's like it's maybe not the same. I mean the reasons maybe not the same. I don't know what the reasons for that, but we like this action. So
So people get together and throw colors on each other.
yeah. So we have it like few times a year during the summer. I don't know is it really. I don't know is it correct way or not. No idea.
Go ahead, Basan.
But I heard people say that this festival is only for welcoming the spring season.
Ah,
It's colorful. I think it
bringing
makes
the
sense.
colors of spring all together. That makes sense.
Well, in my place, you would not like to be, watering in the spring. It's too cold for that, so we do that during the summer.
That makes sense too. The springtime I often associate with people, shedding their clothes and shedding their inhibitions and woo, while going wild. And so the festival makes sense to me on that front, as do the azalea and cherry blossom festivals, because they are just, wow, they are just a huge presence. In Korea, when I was there and the azaleas bloomed, I quickly learned, because I heard all day long the 3 words for the 3 different kinds of azaleas, especially 2 that bloom, and they are so much more present and everywhere than I see here. In the States, we have lots of different azaleas, but in Asia, many Asian countries, apparently there are this bright pink azalea that is like a weed, and it's just like the cherry blossoms. It's everywhere, and it's just, you can't miss it. You have to notice, and it sort of brings maybe hope, maybe joy, maybe fun, festive feeling. And you must get outdoors. You must get out. That's what I love about spring, getting out.
I hate spring. I have dogs. I have 3 small children. Spring for me is a time when I have to make bathroom for all of them every time when we go out and return back to our house.
A little bit of mud.
Yeah, little bit meters of mud.
Meters of mud. Oh, that sounds like a line in a poem. Meters of mud. To write that down. That has a nice sound to it. Meters of mud.
Yeah. So because of that, in our houses we have a special place, corridor. It's like a gate between you and external space. You go there, you close your door, you change your clothes, and you go out.
They actually call them mud rooms in U.S. homes in construction, because they are a place to shed the mud and not bring it into the house. Very aptly named. Goodness. Sorry, struggling with the voice. Did you take a look at the link that Vasant shared, Ivan?
Probably not.
Probably not, with the festivals. 20, no, that's not it. 20 festivals around the world. I was wondering if you had heard of all of these before, if any of them were new to you, and which ones you would like to participate in.
I like festivals in general, and I would say that we in Russia like to adapt any festival. We don't care about reasons. We like the action, so we just adapt it without deep thinking. So we have this Chinese lantern thing. We have Holi. What is the name? And like this. But most of them are not familiar to me.
So you, when you adapt or adopt, you could actually use either word. These festivals, the purpose is just to gather and have fun. Is something different?
It's like, I would say it's like mimicking or something like this. We we getting like external side, but without idea. So why people do that, I don't know.
Mm. Mm. I forget the name of the one in Italy, but I love the idea of, I love suspension bridges, and I love the idea of hang gliding, and I love this idea of a string of people hanging out in hammocks, floating above the mountains. And yeah, the only challenge I think of especially as a woman maybe is, what do you do when you need to use the bathroom? And you're in the middle. How do you get off uh, to find a private place? But that looks like fun to me. But I know my husband would never join me in such such an adventure. Do you like high places?
If it's with, I forgot English word for it, but if you go where not by foot.
Not by foot.
high high,
Parachute?
play, high places. No, it's, I know, recently I learned Spanish, so Spanish words replaced all English words.
Towers?
Teleférico in Spanish.
Good for you. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. Several members are trying to jump into another language, so I'm always impressed when they still find time to poke around in English. So you're still immersed in your Spanish. Do you take assessments, or do you have a fair
No,
judgment of
no.
yourself as to where your level is?
My assessment, if I'm successful in the bar, in the Spanish bar, it's my assessment. I don't care, I don't care about formal things.
Now, passants will not like that, you know. Tisk, tisk. Interesting. You can carry a conversation.
Yeah.
So many people, when they contact me for English help, they say that's on their list. They want to carry a conversation, but you need to learn more than that, because even in your own language, sometimes carrying a conversation is challenging, especially here these days. But it changes with every person, every group, every space, every day, every news headline. It's an ongoing.
Yes, I actually, maybe I shared the story, maybe not, but I played this Victorine bar game. If it's like about questions and answers. There are teams in the bar, and host present questions, and you have to answer, and then they grade your answers and like calculate who is the winner. So I play that in Russia as well, and we are very strong team. We always like prize in the top. No, not the first one, but in the top of the table. And I think I have some erudition. Let's try. And I go to the Spanish bar to play this game with other guys, and. At the beginning, I saw the problem maybe my Spanish, that I cannot understand something, some question or something like this. It was wrong. I perfectly understand all the questions, but problem is that cultural difference is so big that I cannot answer. They watching different movies. They hearing different music. They speaking about different persons. Read different books. So I understand all the questions. I understand the answers, but I have nothing common with that.
Mm, mm. Interesting. I'm impressed that you can understand all of the questions. That's a strong step. But yeah, it's so true. There are so many different aspects that make the learning fun, but can be frustrating to come up with a response. So humor helps sometimes. Sometimes it ends up being worse. Sort of like the fine print, right? If you don't sign the right way or don't say the right word, it can end up being worse. Hmm. I was surprised that you indicated you hadn't heard the expression fine print
No,
before.
never.
I feel like I use it
Maybe I
weekly,
forgot.
but maybe not.
In Russia, we use another expression. We call it like small font or something like this.
Right, and that's what the fine actually means. Is it's usually in smaller font, smaller, tinier print, so that you don't pay any attention. But if you don't pay attention, it can end up biting you, sometimes quite painfully. But especially since the internet and all of the long terms correct, that would be the fine print for 7H and for most places you sign up on. And here in the medical world, every time I go to the doctor, every time, and every time I go to the pharmacy, I have to sign 3 documents, at least 3, every time, to sign off their liability on insurance, to sign off that I've read their terms, to sign off that I don't even read it anymore. The first time, lots of people tried to object, but if you don't sign it, they won't treat you. So between a rock and a hard place, it's a challenge. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because it's not only. I think it's cultural point somehow because you as American you used to have a sense like you are responsible for yourself. If you sign something, it's your fault. It's your fault. But it's kind of not the same in my place. We used to. I can't call it socialism or something, but we demand protection from such fine prints. People usually demand protection from government of such fine prints, and they invent some laws that prevent banks or medical hospitals to use fine prints, and there are a lot of regulations about that. So in general, it's not so easy in my place for company to make these fine prints.
Mm-hmm.
And I know precedents. Precedents, is it the word or no? In the tribunal, in the I forgot another word for tribunal. Court, no, very judge resolve the issue. Court. Okay. So I know some cases when in court the author's document was claimed as illegal because of fine print.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like on McDonald's now, every cup of hot liquid has fine print that tells them they are not responsible if you burn your hands because they were sued because their coffee was hot. No kidding.
We always joke about that. We have a lot of such pictures from America. Be cautious, it's hot. Snow falls down.
Yeah, yeah. So there's so much fine print now that most of us don't pay attention. When we buy a house, the paperwork is like 1 inch thick. It's an hour plus of sign this, sign this. And you'd be there all day or longer if you really read it. So you pay an attorney and you hope that your real estate attorney knows what they're doing. It's awful. Yeah. Yes, insurance for sure. Yeah.
But in my place, trend is opposite. We try to make all documents as simple as possible. You know, to sell a car, I need to make one site. That's all. One small document. That's all. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. To buy an apartment or new flat, I go to special place. It's I as far as I know, I cannot do that on the site. Just now, I have to go to one place, but then I make one sign, and that's all. All the rest makes clerks. Yes, clerks or office workers, government workers.
Clerks. Okay, clerks.
Yeah, and it's like a long-term task for our government. They always declare that it is our task, that we should let our people live without this, documents, without all these boring things. So, and many things we can do electronically now. So I have very few visits, very few reasons to visit official places. And we have, another thing, maybe you never heard about this. It's called one window. One window, it's like a motto. What does it mean? It means it's not related what kind of questions you have. You go to one place and you solve it in that place. You will never be forwarded from one organization to another.
Yeah, so here some people call these one-stops, and they are trying to consolidate and coordinate services so you can go to one place in a single window. Interesting. Yeah.
It is a huge improvement since 20 years before, because 20 years before we had a lot of paperwork for anything. To buy a gun, for instance.
Another hot topic of the
I just remembered it, yes.
Yeah. So Florida just signed legislation where that last shooting was, just signed legislation to say you have to be 21 and you have a 3-day waiting period. And they also voted to get more teachers and school personnel armed.
It's so... You always teach me don't use that, but it's so stupid in my opinion. But because it's just ridiculous.
Where that word, yeah.
Why? So yes, manager of the school, the director should have machine gun, for instance, and sit on the roof in the Kevlar helmet.
That'll help everyone focus on learning, right? And feel safe. I feel so much safer sending my kid to school.
Yeah. But I think it's just a semi approach. Like, how do we say it? Not a full way. It's just a half of the way. We should to armor all the students. It will be fine. More safe.
I don't know. I just don't know. I'm very grateful I don't have to think about.
But I think it's good for America because it's my favorite approach. It's move it to absurd and it will swing back. So now we at this point of absurd.
On many things. that actually could be the word of the year. Absurd.
What a nice words. Last year was Oxford dictionary said it was the word of the year was post-truth.
Yeah, now some strange thing, right? Yeah.
Now it's absurd, so it's nice. It's nice.
Okay, so back to festivals and festivities. Do you have hot air balloons in India and Russia?
Yeah.
Are they a popular tourist thing or waste your money thing?
We have now we're starting to reduce this, lanterns with fire because of the forest. because sometimes it can lead to fire, and there are some evidences of this. So people try to regulate that, and people in general are sane persons. They think this small thing can damage a lot of trees or something.
I've never heard that argument here. I don't know how many have or certainly could start fires. And I don't know if they are popular in the heavy forest fire risk areas. Maybe they are restricted there. I don't know.
Actually, once in my life, I made a wildfire because of that. We had a celebration. We started a lot of these lanterns with fire, and then I found that one of them fell down to the big place with firewood, and wildfire started. So we had to fight against it. So it's make us more cautious.
For sure. Yeah, they intrigue me. They look beautiful. Here it's quite scenic near the mountains, and there are several organizations businesses that offer hot air balloon rides. And we often see them in the nicer weather as we're hiking. Wizard of Oz used the hot air balloon. Yeah, I guess it is, right? Maybe he was the original perpetrator of the idea. Wizard of Oz is one of the examples that first surprised me when I first started teaching English to other speakers of other languages, is the realization that a lot of people had never heard of the Wizard of Oz. And it was such a huge part of my upbringing. It's like unimaginable that you don't know the Wizard of Oz.
But did I share that we have own Wizard of Oz? It's our version. It's Russian version. It's not completely the same. It's more longer. It's like 4 parts, and it came in interesting form. So one guy watched this movie or read this book in America, went back and rewrite it differently, but got the idea.
I think Irina told me about this once. Yeah.
And it's our very popular thing. We read it to our children, and I read it. And I like this version better, of course, because it's adapted to me.
Right. Yeah. One of my losses from the fire years ago was the hardcover original story that my dad had from our bookshelf that had come to me, was lost. Yeah, I read it. My oldest brother and I read it and read it and read it and read it. We loved that story. But it was pretty harsh in some places, quite a bit of violence and gore. But such a story, such a writer. Yeah.
But all this experience about different cultural background, it's always fascinating. It's always interesting how much it influence. It's not only language. It's I think it's style of your mind flow. It's many things. That's why translating sometimes and expressing yourself, it's so difficult.
Right. Yeah. That little words or snippets or expressions from language from some of those stories and movies enter into so many different idioms and conversation imparting meaning. This is one that's always, I just want it to go away. It's like Halloween. I don't like the Day of the Dead. Is this one that you also copy in Russia or India? Yeah.
We don't understand it, as always. We don't understand why we do that, but we do. And my boys like it very much. And we celebrated this Halloween in Spain. It's not the same as in Mexico. It's pretty light, I would say, but still a lot of decorations and all the things. And My boys enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, and there's something about that, giving a time where you can acknowledge the horror and nightmares of your mind in a safe way somehow. But I don't fully understand the true meaning. Um, in some ways, the Day of the Dead, honoring the dead, in some ways, is similar to a Korean holiday where you prepare a feast and take it to the gravesite and tend the gravesite and spread the feast. And I've since learned that there are many versions of this around the world. But the costumes just terrify me. I don't want to be anywhere near that noise or those gruesome um, outfits, and I can't imagine being a child and embracing it. But again, if you're brought up that way, you feel it differently.
Sorry, brought up. I'm sorry. Brought up.
Brought up. Yep, brought up, raised.
Mm-hmm.
Bring up your child, brought up your. So if you're raised that way, you're brought up that way.
But in my experience,
feel them differently.
In my experience, these costumes, this suits,
Costumes.
costumes. What I watched, what I have seen in Spain, they were pretty elegant. I would not say that they're disgusting. They have some element that about zombie or something like this, but in general, at least women try to be elegant and attractive, I would say.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
not in Mexico, or at least not by my judgment. Costumes are a fascinating topic. Even in places where the economy is so poor, somehow they come up with pretty amazing costumes and determination to hold festivals, despite the challenges of, yeah, the money spent on costumes is pretty impressive too. But Vasant, please.
Yes, I think Yvonne once asked about a costume from Indian culture. Yeah, because it was so weird for him. But it is based on a dance culture, a dance art. So every language has its own culture form. So and different dance forms. So every dance or form has a different kind of costume selections. So yeah, we have that different ones.
So describe the costumes in your region.
Uh, it's pretty. We wear a lot of jewels along with long saris and dhotis. I will share the images later, but jewels are very important here, and sometimes the makeup. They apply some powders on their face to make it weird, and it has to be exposable when they come on stage and when the focus lights shown on them. So yeah, the makeup
So
is
they're
very important.
exaggerated. Sometimes the
Yeah,
makeup is exaggerated. Did you say jewels? Is that
yeah,
what you were
jewels.
saying?
Yes.
Ah. Where are the jewels? Necklaces pasted on skin? Where?
Not pasting, it's just wearing around your neck and hands and legs. Sometimes the gels are used to uh, express some sounds when they
Right,
dance. So
right.
it's on their feet.
So jangling and bangles or bracelets are often words used. Yeah. I remember when Amber was in late elementary school or middle school, a trend, a fad started where girls wanted to wear lots and lots and lots and lots of bracelets. And they were at that time cheap metal and made horrible noise. And the teachers objected. So some smart entrepreneur started making out of rubber and plastic, so soft plastic, so that it was like wearing rubber bands and you didn't have but it's like jelly, soft. So there was no noise and they didn't snap like a rubber band. They were real soft. So now you had to have those in every color and just pile them on. And it's just interesting. So with the dances, do they tell stories? Do they tell the same story?
Yes, different stories. Sometimes they are historical epics and some fictional stories. A bunch of people sit at the corner of the stage and they sing with the instruments. And the main performer, the dance performer, will convey the story as they sing. So with the movements. So it will be very interesting.
All right, so this is telling me it doesn't like my spelling, but I think that's correct. But the skirt is pleated, a pleated skirt in the photo you shared. And the headdress looks like it might be heavy. I don't know if it is or not. And flat.
It's just their usual hats and some jewels, and on the behind of her head is just a flower ball.
Okay.
Jasmine, I think, yeah.
And is this a once a year or at most events, or how is there a time for those dances?
No, they perform at many times in a year. So whether it's a cultural event or any social experiments, they start with this like a national anthem. So it is a cultural thing. So they will start with this performance.
Yeah, the fan dances in Korea were just beautiful to watch. And Native American, or I should say true American dances here have a lot of similarities, but modern US is just anything to be radical and different, I think. Country dancing.
In Russia, in Soviet Union, we had a lot of Indian movies, and that's why Indian dancing is kind of stereotype for us. We always expect that, and it was fun when I started to learn my English. I used a conversation exchange approach, and I had a contact of some Indian girl, and just like a joke, I asked her. On our first maybe meeting, I asked her, "Did you dance today?" And she was a little bit offended. She said, "Not today. Today it's Wednesday." It was so funny for me.
It used to be a weekend thing. Friday, Saturdays with dance. Yeah. She was taken aback by your question. It's funny when you say the Indian dance is funny and not. I grew up making little headbands with a feather out of construction paper and going pow wow 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 pow wow wow wow, and we would do the Indian powwow dance. That we thought it was great fun, sort of mimicking, as you say, and now it is not allowed unless you can trace your roots to which tribe you are from and you do their dance. But the stereotype was so strong. Every year in school, you'd practice your dexterity. Yeah, right. Not politically correct. Absolutely. They don't make headbands with feathers anymore. But I did that so many times because that's not all Native American tribes. Many of the learning the real history is regional. Everyone did something different, and the feathers didn't all mean the same thing. And but
but actually, costumes and dances and traditional dance, I like this part of cultures very much, and I've always wonder why we don't have this in Russia. We don't have it really. So you cannot meet a Russian man wearing traditional costume. voluntarily. No, it's impossible. It's the same with women. It's just on the concert, on some show, but not for ordinary people. We don't do that, and we don't use to listen in Russian traditional music. I don't know why, and I always hate this because, for instance, in Spain they like their flamenco, they use their costumes, and it's good way to protect your culture from international pressure.
I always imagine the heavy fur hats look so mean is what I associate with Russia. Fur coats and fur hats. That's what I learned as the stereotype. Um, I don't know. And then during the war, the hard hats, helmets. Uh, so this, oh, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Cotton wool. I just found this in dictionary. Cotton wool. It's what we make a coat from that. It's
Yeah,
a cheap
felt.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No one use that really, but it's only it's from World War II for massive army for that to make it cheap or something like this. But we still use it like a symbol maybe when you wanted to say when you want to say that you are so Russian, you're so stereotypical Russian, you usually use this kind of, you say you wear this kind of coat, cotton wool felted coat. It's means that for us.
Yeah, it brings back so many memories and so many associations of that time and generations. So true. There are so many stories passed down and experiences. So you mentioned the uniforms, and I'm thinking, studying US history, and it's just so stupid, we'll use that word again, that the uniforms were wool to keep you warm and itchy. And that's what they had to wear in 100-degree temperatures, climbing through. Miserable.
Because of our culture, because we live in cold place, we have many jokes about that, and it's like your bonus would not be hurt by hot, something like this. So it's me, and in general, that in Russia we prefer to be overdressed, that not prepared to cold. We don't believe to sun very much.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's very different here in the southern states. Why the southern uniform would be so awful? Oh, yeah, crazy things. The corsets and the long hoop skirts. Your bones, bones will not be hurt by heat.
I don't know why bones, but it's collocations
okay.
like.
Yeah.
So we use it, and we use this for this felted jacket. We say that it's a good coat for winter and for summer as well. But in summer you have to unzip it. That's all.
I can remember stories about my grandpa saying that they would save newspapers or Sears catalogs back in the days when they actually printed the big catalogs, and they would put that paper as layers between things to try to keep warm. And after the war, and still many elderly folks still, we say religiously, faithfully save every scrap of tinfoil and string, and everything was reused, repurposed for those that had to survive without. And then you compare that to today's waste. Oh my goodness, such waste. I felt awful after we lost power and I had to throw away. I had 4 bags of trash, and that's a lot of trash for this house. We try hard not to have too much, but I started trying to save everything for the compost pile, and then I just couldn't handle it. So I just put it into plastic bags quickly, and what an awful mess.
But I like costumes in general. I always bought costumes like from Morocco, from Spain, from everywhere, and I use that to, what's the word for that, troll my friends or something like this. Because sometimes I pretend that I am Moroccan. It's not common here. You cannot meet people here in Indian national dresses. But sometimes I do that just for joke.
Right. So people who know you for 5 minutes probably understand that it's meant to be fun and humorous, but it's so easy to be not PC. Someone used that earlier. It's and I actually, when Vasant suggested this topic, realized that I avoid festivals this past couple of years because crowds bring trouble. And it's hard to have fun and not be constantly watching over my shoulder and making it's not the same for me. And I don't know how to shed that lack of trust, but there's such a huge distrust in the air. So I don't pay much attention to community events anymore, and I used to love to attend as many as possible.
And answering Vasan's questions, it's not only a souvenir. It's kind of a memory. I like to keep these things. I don't know why, but I can't imagine myself to keep in something else. Some plates or something like this. But costume, it's nice. It's funny. What's the name for it? Sombrero, cap.
Sombrero, yeah. I imagine that would be an interesting picture, Ivan in a sombrero.
Yeah, maybe soon. I don't know.
So you need to visit Scotland so we can see you in a kilt
with a bagpipe.
Yeah.
Well, I like such things. I don't know why, but I like it.
And why shouldn't we, right? As you say, it's so difficult not to offend people anymore. It's almost like a culture you're supposed to offend as many people as possible, I think.
But my point is, if you start from this mindset, how not to offend anyone, it's impossible to avoid. So my mindset is different. My mindset is, if someone want to be offended, he will be. So I just don't care about that at all.
Right. Yeah. And there is the underlying fun. Let loose and have some fun. Let your troubles go away for a little bit and celebrate the movement and the flowers and the sunshine is a nice feeling. On the opposite end, several of the festivals or in that link that, see if I can talk, let me try that again. In the link that Vasant shared, several of them were nighttime lanterns, and I've always been fascinated by stories I've heard of annual events where you light a candle and let it float away, or create a lantern. And there are a lot of such traditions in many cultures for different reasons. Some are to appease a god, some are related to weather or memorializing someone. But that's something that reminds me of, again, how I'm being influenced by culture, is how many silent vigils of single candles, just hold a candle and try not to cry. in the last 30, 40 years, I've been to so many. And those are not festive. They are introspective. Oh yeah, the tomato festival. Ugh. Yeah, that's not, yeah, all that waste. Ugh. I love the photo they had though of the couple that was just gleefully drowned in tomatoes. They were having fun. It makes you sad because of the waste of produce. Yeah. And tomatoes are so expensive anymore, even in season here. I think the cost of tomatoes has gone up like 600% since my childhood. And in my childhood, everybody's garden was here, have tomatoes free. People don't give them away very much here. You need to be a good friend to get tomatoes given. uh, and that reminds me of with so much travel, all of the changes in insects and um, disease that's spreading and causing trouble. Here's a good collocation. I don't think I've posted that one. I should post that one. To wreak havoc. That's a good collocation. Causing a lot of trouble, big trouble, wreaking havoc. But it's true. We have insects here that are destroying every tree of certain kinds across the country. We've lost almost all of our elms, and we're losing all of our ash trees and our hemlocks, and because of little tiny bugs that come over somehow and then don't have predators, and it's awful. And now there's a new one they're telling us to watch for that this year. Funny looking guy, easy to spot. He has evil red dots on his wings. And it's been seen near us, and we're all supposed to be watching for this evil insect that's going to ruin our grape crop, so there'll be no wine next year. But it's some of that comes from festivals and costumes that are not cleaned properly and are brought over. And it's just the interconnectedness of causing trouble while you're trying to have fun. How about Carnival, Mardi Gras? You celebrate Mardi Gras? Do you know this one? New Orleans, Mardi Gras? Blank looks. No? You must hear about this. So Yvonne would probably enjoy this. So there's lots of alcohol involved. But in New Orleans, the Mardi Gras festival is nowhere I will ever be, but lots of purple, green, and gold. I think that's the three colors. Something to do, some connection to Christian religion and Easter somewhere, but there's nothing religious about this holiday. People just get totally drunk and dance in the streets and play music in the streets and throw these necklaces, throw anything purple, green, and gold at people in the streets. And it's crazy. Fun to watch from a distance, sort of, but people get out of hand big time. Similar to the Carnival in South America, many places. So parts of it are fun, parts of it get mob mentality and go in a wrong direction. When people research a lot of the traditional dances from hundreds of years ago, many times stories come out about the medicine doctors and the herbs that they would come up with which would be like alcohol is today, which would do things to the mind altering um, things that became part of the dances for certain people in the dance, and you build up to it. The drum roll, a lot of drums in early traditional dances in the US. The sounds, the calls, the repetition, build up. And I think that it was a once a year, twice a year, few times a year, big deal years ago. And now you can find some sort of celebration almost every day. And it loses some of its magic, maybe. So what festival has magic for you? What celebrations or festivals or events are magical for you? Diwali. So tell us about Diwali.
Diwali is kind of a festival that entire India would celebrate because it doesn't have a specific religion. So the festival means is getting rid of the darkness. So the
Huh?
the name Diwali means it's the light, the pure light. So uh, it means we are getting coming out of the darkness and uh, lighting up new life or something like that. So at that festival time, so the crackers are must. So uh,
Ah.
that day, so a lot of fireworks. So yeah, that is very enjoyable, and every citizen of India would go through and in their childhood because of the crackers and the fireworks, they would not forget it. So it is
Ah.
very important in their life. Yeah.
Brings a smile I can see to you. And when is Diwali?
I think it comes at November and October at that time. Yeah.
Hmm. So you bring on the light just before winter.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
So it's supposed to keep you in the light
Warming.
until until winter, right? As the darkness descends, you have something to carry you through. Nice. Ivan,
Yeah, yeah.
you like
Sorry,
them all, but
I
what brings magic?
I'm sorry. This we have a day off today, and I'm on duty engineer as always for such days because that's why I keep in getting calls.
Okay. So is there any particular holiday that
In Russia,
really
I mean,
real special for you?
actually not. We not mm, give too much sense, too much. It's not so important for us. I would say that in Russia, as I always say, in Russia we have two majors festives. The first one it's New Year. The second one is someone's or in your family birthday. That's all. All the rest it's just a way, to have fun, but never serious.
Ah, that the expression that lit up Vasant as he was talking. I've seen that expression on you, or feel like I have, when you've talked about your annual getaway to the river. I think it was to a river where you just no uh, no digitox, no digital anything, and just travel and get away and camp.
but it's not a festive, you know. It's
No,
we
not a festival, but a magical event in
well, we do it many. Sometimes we do it many times at year. It doesn't. It don't have any schedule. It's like when I have time, we go there. So it's like this.
I don't think I have one anymore. It used to be Thanksgiving, but uh, Thanksgiving is very different now. So I don't know if I have what comes to my mind is when I can pick my first huge bouquet of flowers from the garden. That's and give flowers to everyone I see. That's
But
special for me.
I think I found a trick how to make all these festivals for you, how to enjoy them, and it's very simple. You just need, children for that, because
Yes.
everything is
Yeah.
magic for them, and if you do that for them, you are inside this. You getting this joy. So
Yes. We haven't mentioned children. It's actually something that I'm thinking about doing. We have an elementary school not far from us, and I'm thinking about visiting to see if I can volunteer once a week or something to get a dose of kids. We don't have young kids in the neighborhood at this moment. Well, one family, but cool. All right. Well, Vasant, I feel badly. We didn't give you much chance to speak today, but interesting discussion and killed the hour. And maybe I found my voice again, which I'm grateful for. I had a hard time this morning finding a voice. But I wish you a good evening or good day wherever your times
happy
are.
Women Day. Today is a Women Day
That's
here.
right. That's right. That's right. Where are my flowers, guys?
No, it's an insult now.
Or my steaks. Those nice steaks looked pretty good too, right? So take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.